welcome back to Coffee and Dates podcast. My name is Adil.
I'm Fatima.
And today we're going to be talking about matrimonial events. And, Labor Day weekend was a few weeks ago now. And you had a few friends who went to these matrimonial events and they gave their honest and very blunt feedback. And we're kind of going to go over their feedback and just kind of discuss like the pros that they mentioned, the cons that they mentioned. And at the end, we're kind of going to go over like what we think could be possibly viable solutions to make these events, better, more fruitful for people who are going to attend them in the future. And so like we'll get started with the pros.
Okay.
So the first pro that your friends mentioned was that it was the first and pretty much only pro that they mentioned was like it was good to have the conversation starter with like people like there's always like that awkwardness and that icebreaker thing that like you don't know how to do if it's not an organized event. Like if I had seen you at a restaurant and I was interested in you, like there's nothing really for me to do to talk to you or anything for me to say to gauge your interest or like anything like that. So in an event like this, they kind of make sure that people have these conversation starters and, whether it's speed dating or whatever.
I think that's definitely true. So that was one of the things is that they had like, some good like icebreaker questions. So it wasn't like, it's weird that I'm asking you this. It may seem like I'm like moving things forward too quickly. It's like, this is the question that's on the paper. So I think that was kind of nice. It's like, these are the things that we're going to talk about and like, it's already written and stuff. So I thought that was good. I think the other actually good thing is that some people aren't their best selves on like texting and just via via your phone. So I think it was kind of nice to be able to immediately gauge someone's personality and kind of what they were like. Like sometimes people have those like awkward issues where you'll even meet someone on the phone and or like on an app that you like think you hit it off with, and then you see them in person and you're like, yeah, this is not going to work. So it's kind of nice just to immediately go to that point where you see them in person.
Yeah, and I think I think there's the other side to that where there are people who would not be comfortable with that. Like they're more like natural. They just want like a more natural way to talk to someone. But I think there's more people who are like, oh, I just want this conversation to get started. I want to know who this person is, what they're about. And I think that's what these events kind of afford these people is like, it kind of tells you, at first, like people are most likely to be serious about marriage. So like, well, at least this person's serious. And you kind of get that, huge hurdle out of the way that you have with the apps and other. And so like you get past that hurdle right away when you start talking about, people who are serious or not. So I think that's definitely a huge positive that these events afford, single people who are looking to get married. So let's get to the fun stuff, the negatives. There's so many negatives.
These events.
Yeah, like let's get my hater hat on and let's start talking about this.
Do you ever take that hat off?
This is actually a wig, and this is my hater wig, and I just always have it on. So, first of many negatives that people brought up was that there are way more women than men.
Yeah.
And I think this caused a lot of issues, specifically with one of your friends who said she was kind of on the side during one of the events. What was that about?
Yeah. So okay, I think I need to preface this. There's multiple matrimonial event types, and so I think if you're ever interested in going to one, you need to look into like who's like hosting it and what kind of event it is. So there were multiple throughout the weekend. So the one that I'm referring to was a speed dating one. And there were like a lot more women than men. So basically like the women's seats were taken up. And so even though she had paid money to, be at this event, like she couldn't even partake in it for like a good hour in. Wow. Because like there were so many other girls in front of her. So like she was just standing there for like a lot of the event, and she had paid to be there. So I thought that was really messed up. That like they didn't like foresee that or like think about like what how they could like make that more streamlined, and they know who's coming to in advance, which is weird.
Yeah, and like I think I mean, this is kind of outside of what you're talking about, but like there were like not even chairs for her to sit, or like
yeah,
like
there was nowhere for her to sit. There was like nowhere for her to sit,
Yeah.
and like I think it was kind of funny because like when I was telling you about this, like we both did MSA in college, so which means we did like large scale events for Muslims. And it's like, if we had an event where there weren't, at the minimum, enough chairs for the attendees, that would just be crazy. That would be a huge fail. We'd be like, what is wrong, like, with our board, you know? And it's not like we didn't make any money off of these events either. So it's like, these are like, you know, for-profit events, and they couldn't even like think about something like that. That's just wild to me.
Yeah, and you know, I just want to clearly say we're not just going to be hating. I think at the end we're going to kind of go over what we think can be fixed and easily fixed, and maybe
you don't have to justify your opinion.
Yeah, all these people are trash, man. All right, so like another thing one of your friends mentioned was that men were not taking rejection seriously. So like one of your friends rejected someone and then kept getting approached by the same guy, which
yeah, it wasn't even like seriously, it was more like they weren't taking rejection well, which, like, you know, I think guys do actually a lot more than we think, but since we're so used to like the apps and texting and stuff, we don't really see it because we just unmatch them, or we just like, you know, ignore them. But like in person, it's like it's a lot harder. And so like when you kind of gave the reason like, hey, I don't think this would work out for this and this, like they would kind of like be really intense about it, and it would put you in a very awkward position. There wasn't like any way you could be like, oh, hey, I don't want to talk to this guy, so make sure he stays away from me. Like there just wasn't like a good way to do that. So I don't know. It was just kind of like bad etiquette on the guy side, I think.
So what you're saying is men are trash.
I'm inferring that. I didn't say that though, but I am heavily implying that. Yeah.
You know, I think it's kind of funny. I like the people that, you know, I am friends with, and you know, I think all my friends are great people, and I just like, where are these trashy men, dude? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're going to these events apparently.
Yeah.
Where are your friends? Like, why aren't the guys you
Well, my friends are all married. Most of them.
No, fine. But like, even before, when they were looking,
They got
like,
hitched up quick.
Oh my God. Okay.
They were.
So I guess like, it's like, yeah, I guess it's like, you know, like the girls who are going, I mean, they like, I feel like there are like, you know, they have like really good jobs, they're really good looking, like they're young and all this stuff, like all the things that, you know, make like a good partner. And I'm not even talking about my friends actually. When my friends came back from a lot of these events, they were like, the women there were gorgeous and they were so nice. They made a lot of girlfriends too, which is like the opposite reason to go, but that's kind of what ended up happening. And then, yeah, I think this, like the selection, unfortunately, of the guys just wasn't it.
I think like for guys, I'm talking specifically for the Desi community. I mean, just from, you know, people, most of my friends are Desi, so they get married much more easily than I think women do. Especially through like the traditional like rishta auntie, or like through their family, their parents finding someone for them. And I think like you know, to be blunt, their timeline is a lot like longer to get married. Like people don't start taking guys seriously for marriage until they turn like 25, I think, and then their timeline goes until like 35. Mm-hmm. So when they're not married at like 29, they're not stressing, and they're not like, well, I'm gonna go spend this much money to go
to an event.
Yeah. So I think that's why a lot of men don't go to these events. And so is there anything else we want to talk about that?
No, I mean, I think though you make a good point though. It's like a little bit easier because even through the other processes, like I think the apps are probably the only avenue where I think girls actually do get the advantage. Like I know, like you and I both talked about our experience on the app, and they were very different. Right. But I think in reality, like to the outside world, it is a lot easier for like a guy who's at marriage age, who has like a good job and all this stuff, like to get married. And I think especially when you're going through like the rishta auntie process, like my friends have described to me that process, and it sounds horrifying. It sounds like you're on like a reality TV dating show where the judge is just abusive. And like I don't think, guys are like given the same treatment. Like they're not told like, oh, wear tighter clothes in your pictures, or you need to lose weight, or like anything like that. Whereas the girls are like just like kind of eaten alive through it. So it's very, very different.
Yeah, I think like guys probably just don't want to hear that stuff either. So maybe there's like, yeah, I don't really care for an auntie to judge me.
Or I think they just won't do it, and I think the aunties know that too, though.
Yeah.
Or they're not like, I don't know.
They're not as proactive. And
Yeah.
I just want to clear something up. I do have single friends, but they are they're quote unquote artists. So they're trying to, they're stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
So like they're not first, they're not interested in getting married anytime soon, and they're pursuing a career that's very non-conventional. So if they had even gone to these events, which I don't think they ever would right now, like it would bring up another issue that your friends brought up, which is the quality of men there, like in terms of like career, or just like blunt, like they're not making enough money to support a family type thing. So like they're just not like that makes their quality just worse, right? So like that was another negative that your friends brought up.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to use that word quality because I think it's like really like messed up to use that term, But
Well, I mean, like it's like I'm sure most
I
women.
think it's compatibility.
Compatibility,
And I think a lot of the girls that go to these events do have like high-paying careers, and or maybe that's even one of the reasons why they waited a little bit longer to even like think about getting married and stuff. And it's like in reality, it's like someone who is like who has that kind of like lifestyle and stuff. You're probably not going to be super compatible with someone who has like a more like per hour job or something. So I think that's the thing, and I think like some of the men. No, that was the other rejection thing. Is some of the men would take that very personally too, and they would be like, "Oh, I don't think we'd be compatible," and they'd be like, "Well, like you're, they would just be like, what it like I don't know. They would take the whole money thing like very personally, and it usually isn't. Yeah, we need to talk about like how to bring up money during the courting process, because I feel like people have asked me, and I'm like, I feel like it's always so awkward, but there is like a little bit of tact to it, but a lot of it does rely on guys changing how personally they take that question.
Yeah, no, I just think a lot of people like get emotional about it because they put a lot of worth into that, like a lot of self-worth into that. Mm-hmm. So like, oh, if I make a certain amount of money, that means I'm like this kind of person. So like when like let's say I make like a certain amount of money, and I tell you, and you're kind of like, oh, that's very little, and to me that's like, well, that's a lot for me. Mm-hmm. I would take it personally,
Yeah.
So like that like a lot of people put worth into that. Mm-hmm. And then when you have like a different scale or whatever, people just take that personally, like, what do you mean? Like, I think it's enough. I think I'm a decent.
But just even like bringing it up. I think we're getting off track anyways. But
okay, yeah, whatever.
For another episode.
So there was also age disparities between the men and women there. So I think in one of the speed dating events that your friends went to, like, your friends like mid-20s having to talk to someone who's like in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that was, so the thing with the speed dating event, which again, this is something that they could have easily like foresaw, but they, like, basically you don't have a choice of who you end up sitting in front of. And so there'd be like, like one of my friends is like 25, and she'd be in front of like a man who was like approaching 50s. And it's like, I don't even know what's the point of talking. Like, you're my, you could be my dad's age. Like, what would be the point of even having this conversation? And, like some guys actually still thought that they had like a chance to talk to them. It's like, dude, what are you thinking? Like, are you, I don't know. It didn't make any sense. They literally thought they were like, hot shit because they were at this event, and they were like, oh, there's so many girls here. Like, anyone would be lucky to talk to me. So they were talking to a 25-year-old girl. It's just messed up. It's gross.
Well, we don't swear on this podcast.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay. Wait, what was the swear word?
You said hot shit.
That's not a swear word.
Hot shit? Shit is a swear word.
Wait, haven't you said the F word before on this podcast? Oh, okay.
I would never.
Okay, I'm sorry. Or you can like beep that out or something.
All right.
Okay. Anyways,
Well,
yeah.
I think the common theme here is that men are trash.
No, it's
Well,
just
I
like,
take that personally, okay? As a man, I don't think this is true.
No, but seriously though, like some guys actually like they were really aware of it though. Like there was like one man who was like I think in his I don't know early 50s or something. He ended up sitting in front of one of my friends who was in her 20s, and he like immediately just sat down and he was like, "How old are you?" And she said how old she was, and he was like, "Yeah." This is not going to work. So he just went on his phone and they just spent the rest of their time with them on their phone. And she was like, that was the best interaction I had because he like acknowledged how creepy that is for him to be talking to her. And so it wasn't even the fact that like, I'm not saying like, oh, those at that age men should not be there. But like, number one, you should not even think that you are going to talk to someone that young. And the other thing is, especially, I don't know, like in certain contexts, it's just even worse. And then the other thing is like these kinds of events do need to have like groups of people, and there are ways to do that.
We'll get into that towards the end. Our solutions, the final solution. No, the events were extremely long, and there were a lack of chairs and lack of refreshments. So I don't know. They said how many hours were these events?
Oh, I think it was like from like a 2 till like they would like carry on until like 9 p.m. some of them. Like the actual like speed dating event went from like 2 I think to like 5 or 6 or something. Yeah, it's like 2 to 6 or 6:30. And there was nothing to eat or anything there.
Wow.
They said that there would be food, there wasn't. So yeah, they were like starving by the time they left. And
that's pretty bad. Yeah, like I think like, especially when you're trying to give your full energy to people when you're talking to them, like it drains people, like if I'm talking to like 20 people in like these intervals, like I want to give my full attention, and after like the 4th or 5th one, I'm like, dude, I need like a glass of water, I need like I need some pizza or something.
Yeah, and I will say that's not even the only event that didn't have food. There was another event that cost like $50 to get into at night during dinner time. And by the time some people showed up, there was no food left. There was no drinks left. And they paid $50 just to enter this event. So
yeah, that's kind of disappointing. There was also a complaint from one of your friends about event coordinators talking to some of the single women who are a part of the event.
Yeah. No, it was actually. I think it was single women that were event coordinators.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was like, so basically as a volunteer, right? Like I think you're showing up to help the other people. Like you're not paying for this event. Like
right.
Either you volunteer to be there or you're getting paid to be there. You cannot take advantage of being at this event if you're like, let's say you are single and you're looking. There's nothing wrong with, working at that event, but you can't be the person who's talking to these people, and like that's actually what would be happening.
So the single women were talking to the men there?
I mean, I know for sure there were single women talking to men there, but maybe there were guys also. So I don't know if it was just them, but like for sure though, like in the end there were.
So the women volunteers were talking to the guys.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, I think you should give them, benefit of the doubt. You don't know, like.
No, my friends would hear like.
No, I mean, I'm saying I'm not saying like they weren't talking to them, but like you give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they weren't single. Maybe they were just like cheating on their husbands.
Oh my God. Okay, that's horrible.
All right. So we kind of went over the official events that happened. They were, run by Muaz Salams and whatever.
Yeah, Ill Muslims.
Ill Muslims.
Was one of them.
Well, Ill Muslims, I don't know if that was considered like a singles event.
It was though. It was sponsored by, or it was like co-hosted by Salams. So.
I mean, yeah, but Ill Muslims itself, like, is already like it has a reputation as like not a serious thing.
But it was co-hosted, like.
Yeah, that's not, like, that's just the fault of Salams partnering with an organization that they know is not serious.
What do you mean by not serious?
Dude, like, okay, so I mean, even before you told me that what happened at this last one, but like They have dancing there. They don't pray like any prayers on time. That they don't even have a place for anyone to like. If they want to pray Maghrib, like where do they go? There's nothing like that. They're just dancing like live DJ. Like yo, this isn't like a real Muslim event. You know,
they're ill Muslims.
They're ill Muslims. They have disease of the heart. You know,
Oh my gosh.
so. Forget about them. Okay, we're gonna talk about the unofficial event, Club ISNA.
Yeah.
So Club ISNA, for you people who don't know, is basically it's like the lobby area of the hotel that ISNA is held at. I think after a certain time, like after Isha or something, a lot of single people go there and they kind of just hang out with their friends, and there's a lot of intermingling going on. And you went with your friends.
Okay, I asked you. Wait. Don't do this. Like, no. I got permission and I asked and I told you what the context was.
Yeah,
so.
you went undercover.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I was very clearly married. I went married and I was like, it was.
Yeah, you went as a wing woman.
Yeah, basically. And yeah, so and I wanted to check it out. I just wanted to see like what the hype was about, and actually, and so it was free too. Like you can just show up. It's not like I was paying or anything. And of all the events, at least from what they describe the different events as and what they describe the Club ISNA as, I think Club ISNA was probably like the most reasonable one. I think number one, you can't have expectations because you're not paying for it. And there's no like time limit or like anything forcing you to be in a certain room or talking to anyone or anything like that. I thought it was like a lot more like informal. I do think like it's kind of it was kind of awkward like in terms of I wish like it was like Club ISNA but like with volunteers where like you could talk to them and be like, hey, could you
so basically like hired wingmen and wingwomen
basically there, and like so I think like, okay, if I had a single friend who, was like went to this like Labor Day weekend in Chicago and wanted to go to these events, I honestly would tell her like, hey, take your brother or like some wali with you to Club ISNA and just hang out with him and have him be your wingman. Because like even though I was trying to be a wingwoman, I was not comfortable going up to like groups of guys, it would literally have to be like a guy that happened to be alone. I'd try to like get them to talk to one of my friends or whatever, and like I still like it still wasn't like the most comfortable situation. So I think like if I had like a brother there, or even like honestly even taking like one of your like married friends and her husband with you and have the husband try to be your wingman, I think something like that would make it like a lot more like casual, like people could actually connect a lot faster and stuff. But I think kind of going alone or only going with your other girlfriends might be a little bit harder. But like going with someone that you can confidently be like, oh, hey, I think he's cute. Like, can you talk to him? Like, so don't go with your parents, obviously. But like, I think something like that would make it a lot more effective for a lot of girls.
Yeah. So I have some issues with Club ISNA. I mean, I've been there when I was single, when I was in college. I would volunteer for ISNA, and then like I heard about, oh, there's this Club ISNA. So me and my friends, we like peeked our head in, and we're like, oh, this is weird. And then we went to McDonald's and got fish fillets. But so I think the biggest con I think about like finding someone at Club ISNA is like, who is serious there?
Yeah, so they actually made it a lot more official this year, though. They had wristbands.
Okay.
Yeah, so they had wristbands for different people. Like you could say, I don't remember what all the categories were, but like if you were willing to talk to someone of like the opposite gender, then there was like a special color for you. If you're not interested in talking to anyone, there's another color for you. Like, hey, I'm just here to hang out. There's another color for you. Like there was a color apparently for social anxiety or something. Like I don't know. The night I went, there were no colors, but like the other days apparently they like actually did make it a lot more official, and it was still free. So
yeah, I mean, so and then that's also the thing. It's a free event, right? So like if you're a guy who's serious about getting married, and you're willing to go to an environment like Club ISNA to find a wife, like why aren't you willing to pay $50 to go to an official event where there's like multiple girls there and you get to talk to
yeah.
in an environment where it's like more monitored and all
Yeah.
that. So
I mean,
that's what I'm saying is it's a con, because I think there will be guys there
who are not serious,
who are not there and who are just there like I'm gonna put on this wristband that I'm comfortable talking to girls,
I'm just gonna talk to girls.
and I'm just gonna talk to girls today. Like
Yeah.
that's just like what like I think a lot of guys
Yeah.
get off on that.
Peaked in college.
Yeah, they peaked on college. Like they didn't have, and then they didn't get married, and then they're just like, you know what? I miss like the attention I get from women, so I'm gonna get that tonight once a year.
And act like I want to get married.
And act like I want to get married, and I'm gonna talk to them, and then for a few minutes, then I'm gonna go talk to another girl for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna go home alone and sleep.
Yeah.
But
so actually, but just to answer the whole like why wouldn't they just pay $50 thing, like I think part of that is because they know there's so many other avenues for them to get married. You know, they're like, well, if this doesn't work out, I'm just gonna go like ask my mom to help me or something. And so
yeah, so then what's the point of going to an event like
no,
that?
because maybe
then?
they're like, oh, I'll naturally just meet someone. It's like it's low effort, high reward, like low risk, high reward situation versus spending $50 for some people is like this is high risk. You know, like. So I think it's just like, I'm going to be at the convention anyways. My friends will be there. I'm just going to show up to this place. Like, you're not really investing a lot into it. So you're not even going to be disappointed if nothing works out. So I think that's why I think people would go to that kind of event. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going there because they want to just talk to girls.
No, and there were like guys there who there were guys there who were like married, but their wives were there too, and they were like talking to their friends. But then there were guys there who said that they were in relationships already. But then, and which is fine. I mean, I was married and I was there, but like then they were also at the other paid events too.
Yeah.
Which made no, like, why are you showing up to all of these events if you're in a relationship? Like, it made no sense to me. But.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think a lot of guys just get off on the fact that, like, oh, yeah, like, they, like, enjoy the attention that they can get from women. So now we're going to talk about, like, what can be done to fix these events.
Yeah.
So what can be fixed? Well, number one, I think for like the speed dating events where you said like, your friend had to stand and there were a lot more women than men, is I think you just limit the registration to however many men sign up, that you have to have the equal number of women, and no more, no less. You just keep it equal just so that no one has to just be standing around. And I think the only reason that doesn't happen right now, the only reason I can think of that doesn't happen is because it's easy money.
Yeah, I was gonna say they just want to make money. Why would they stop selling tickets?
Yeah, it's like if there's 70 women willing to sign up and 50 men, then we're like, oh, with the extra 20 women, we get extra $1,000. Like, why not just have them stand around?
Yeah.
So I think this whole event, like, it has to be like well, we're not doing this for money type thing.
Yeah.
And I think that because the organizers are making money off of it, they'll cut corners. They don't really care about the experience as long as they get the quick cash grab.
Yeah.
And then they bounce.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, like, you never have to deal with these people again. Like, if there's so many complaints, like, they tell you that night and then you fly out the next morning and then you're gone. So
no, that's like a thing with every culture, is marriage is a very profitable business. So
yeah, it's profitable. It's but it's specifically these events is like, I mean, because it's a rich auntie is like, okay, she makes money, but like she's working with you every day, or like every week she has a checkup or something, right?
Yeah.
But like this is like, hey, come here Labor Day weekend. I'm from New York. I'm coming to Chicago, come to this event, and then I'm bouncing in New York, and you're never gonna see my face ever again until next year, where you forget about it, So like, I think it just needs to not be a cash grab. It needs to, like, the organizers need to be very much like, we're doing this to make this the best event. And I think like we've lost that as a community, not just like with matrimonial services, but with everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wait. So like, but how can you balance like? I want this to be like an event, not about profit. I want it to actually be successful, but then also like making sure only people who are serious are showing up. Because I feel like that is one of the ways you can ensure people who are more invested show up, is making people pay.
No, of course you make people pay, but you use that money to make the event better.
And
for example, have chairs for people.
Have
one of the things like that were the complaints that your friends mentioned was like no refreshments, no food. Like, make sure there's enough of that for everyone, like ×5, you know? Just so, and then if there's extra, whatever, give it away. There's so many people at this conference. Like you use the money that you're charging people to make the event better, not just like, oh, like we can make like, if we charge people $50, we can make $40 off of them and spend $10 on food. Like, no, dude, like spend like most of it to make the event better. And like maybe hire people who would take, instead of the volunteers, like there'll be people who are like, oh, I'm getting paid for this, I need to be professional. Like I'm not gonna talk to these single men here and cheat on my husband, you know? So
I do agree though. Actually, that was one of the things I actually did like about the event. So when I was reading through the description, it was like, and we're going to have people like wearing shirts, and you can come up to us and say like, hey, I'm interested in talking to someone. They'll facilitate conversations. I was like, wait, that's awesome. That's like a really good feature to have. So yeah, they just need to do better at picking those people apparently. But I
mean, pay them. That's how you get people to be serious about stuff. Another thing that can make these events better is a pre-event survey. So I think that would really help with like the older people there. I mean, if you're a 50-year-old guy or 40-year-old guy looking for someone, you really don't want to waste your time with a 22-year-old woman. And 22-year-old woman does not want to waste her time with a 40-year-old man.
So like, what's your age limit?
What's your age limit? And then kind of use that data to make the event better. Like put some effort into it, you know, like, okay, like we're going to make sure this 40-year-old doesn't really cross paths with this 22-year-old woman who has no interest in him and he has no interest in her. Like, let's just keep them apart. Like maybe make it, you know, groups of people and stuff like that.
So they had, the most formal event of the weekend is the actual ISNA matrimonial event. So I think that's the one that costs the most money. It's the most like formal and everything. And they did have that though for that one. They like they had like 2 separate age groups, and then like if you're like within a certain age range in between that, you can pick which one you'd be more comfortable in.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I think especially the pre-event survey would also help with like your expectations up front. Like, you know, if you're you know, a female professional and you want a certain, person making a certain amount of money.
Well, level of education are you okay with, and all this stuff.
Yeah, so that you get matched with those people, and you know, and honestly, if there isn't like, if you're a guy who's like, oh, I want a PhD, MD woman who does this, does that, she cooks and cleans, and then there's no one who signs up for the event, they should just email and be like, yo, there's no one like this at this event. So no, 100%. We can refund you, or you can come and like maybe negotiate on your expectations. So like use the data. It's so easy these days, man. You could literally just like put all the data into
ChatGPT.
And they'll tell you like, oh, these people should be matched with these people. Like, it's just so easy these days. And the fact that like people are getting paid and like making a lot of money off of this and not putting any effort into it, like, it makes me mad, even though I'm not single and I'm not attending these events.
And these companies who are like making these events have big names, like, you know, it's like Muz, Salams, like all the, like ISNA, like it's they have the opportunity and like the audience to make these events amazing. And I think the reason why like less and less people are willing to go to these events, because they hear like these kinds of stories. So
no, I mean, hopefully, you know, they'll probably hopefully take feedback from people this year, and next year it's better, or whenever they do it again. And another thing we said, I think I've already mentioned, is like give refreshments, keep people energized, you know, have enough water, food, drinks, because, you know, again, like like using your mind a lot is what burns the most calories. You know? So
you went to a matrimonial event when you were single.
So I went to one. It was at the I Heart Halal convention. I think 2018 or something.
Dark time in your life.
Yeah, it was dark, you know, I was sad. But basically, like, I was doing stand-up comedy there for one of the events there, and then I was rehearsing in a room alone, and then this guy saw me and he was like, hey, do you want to come to this, are you single? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want to come to this matrimonial event? I'm like, I'm good. And then he's like, well, I'll let you in for free. We don't have enough guys. I was like, all right, man. And then I went, and the way it was set up was like a game night. And I think for a lot of people that helped them like kind of get to open up and like talk to people. For me personally, it didn't work because I'm a very competitive guy. So I was just focused on winning, and
people were scared of you.
People got scared, but you know, you got to do what you got to do to get the W. You know.
Yeah, but do you think though, like, okay, what did you think about the age group and everything of those people?
Honestly, don't remember, like, because I was so into the game. But I do remember, like, feeling a little young there. I was 25 at the time. And I feel like I don't think there were many women younger than me there.
Oh, okay.
Or even around my age range.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I felt a little like, oh, I'm kind of out of place here. I might as well get the W. So the last thing, so that was actually the last thing. Like, is speed dating the best thing? Is it like, should you kind of look towards other options like a game night, toward maybe like making it into a group thing and like one table versus another table for a game, and you kind of work together, and those tables are matched up with people like, like this person might be a good match, like but it's just like, you know, it's about putting the effort in, and I think like when it's easy to make money off of people who, you know, are trying to do a good thing for themselves, you know, like they really want to get married, and it's like easy to make money off of those people. But like, you know, especially if you're like a quote unquote Muslim organization, a Muslim company, like you should have higher standards than just being like, like, well, we can make like 90% profit margins off these people. Like it has to be more than a number. Like,
and your intention has to be like, this would be better for the community kind of thing. And it's a lot of work. I mean, like,
it is a lot of work, and I'm speaking as someone who's never done it, right? But you know, I think I would have enough chairs for people, so I can say that much, right?
We got a message asking, so like, who are Fatima's single friends and stuff. So if you're looking, give me your name, age, occupation, and let's just get this rolling. Let's get rid of these matrimonial events. Let's just go through me.
I give you permission to send a DM.
Yeah, just send it to the Coffee and Days podcast.
But yeah, no, that's pretty much all we have. Did we have any other questions we wanted to bring up?
No, like if you went to these events, you know, just like if there's something we didn't hit on, let us know. And if you haven't been to these events and you're looking to get married, like, why haven't you ever considered them?
Yeah, I'm really curious, especially if there's any men listening, like why you wouldn't go. I mean, I know why I wasn't willing to go. I think I'm just not that kind of. I'm very introverted, I think, in those kind of situations. So I just would avoid it when I was single. So, but I mean, I'm curious about what other guys have to say about that. And I think this was good. You know, we used notes this time. You know, we're trying not to
new microphones.
New microphones, and not holding a microphone. I'm drinking espresso. Look at this cup, man. You see that?
Okay, let's wrap it up.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.